So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank, good evening, sir. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in for our 24th event of Learn for Change. And I want to welcome you all to this event. And to make it clear, we want to apologize because we have been late for some minutes. And it's because our speaker had a lot of responsibilities that he had to take care of. And we had to kind of wait for him, but now he is, and we're ready to learn from him. So, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nelson Himbaza, and I'm your host for today. And I am part of Afflatus Africa team, and I serve specifically in the mentorship change department. So today we're going to talk about a session and mainly on a topic that is named Understanding of Vision and Dreams. Normally, we used to have these conversations on Saturdays, but due to the tight schedule that our speaker normally has, our board had to reschedule the meeting to today because we did not want to miss the opportunity to talk to such experienced person like tonight's speaker. So I have no doubt many of you in the audience, maybe it's your first time hearing of Afflatus Africa. And I want to take this opportunity to explain more about Afflatus Africa, what we do, and what is our vision. So specifically, Afflatus Africa is a youth empowerment organization, and our motto is Unveil Your Potential. So we mainly have 3 programs right now, and those are Reading for Change, Learn for Change, which is the current one, and the third one is Mentorship for Change. And all of these programs revolve around one single purpose, which is creating a platform where people will get an opportunity to get knowledge and skills and motivations from experienced people like tonight's speaker. So this is mainly what we focus on and our vision as well. Again, to help our audience learn about Afflatus and what we've been doing for some past years, I will go ahead and request one of my teammates, Brenda, who's with me on Zoom, to play a short video which is going to show you a picture of what Afflatus Africa has been doing in past 2 years before COVID. And I think maybe for those who don't know Afflatus will get an opportunity to see what Afflatus is really and what is its mission. So Brenda, if you can hear me, you can play the video. Brenda, can you play the video? Hey, Brenda, are you there? Brenda, can you hear me or? It seems like she's not hearing. And allow me to play it. Well, that was a brief video about what we've been doing over the years. And I think it has clearly shown what activities that we were engaging ourselves in. And I believe we're going to learn a lot. Can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me? Pastor, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but the sound is not very clear. Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I do.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I do. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I can hear you. Sorry for that interruption. Some technological issues, but we can continue. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to inform you that we are pleased to have been joined by an intelligent, wonderful, humble, and one of the experienced people we have here in our country to talk about a widely discussed topic of today, which is understanding the vision and dreams, especially which is crucial for youth. So for those who don't know our guest speaker, allow me to tell you a brief biography of his. He's a 63-year-old man who is known for his wise teachings both to his church flocks and national at large. He is a parent and a spiritual leader doing his pastoral work at Anglican Church, Remera Parish. So he is Dr. Antoine Lutaisire, pastor, reverend, has a lot of titles. And if you don't mind, sir, you can say hi to the audience in your own way.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, we are very pleased to have you with us. It's very a great honor for you to have because you have find time for us. So I want to as well inform our audience that our session is going to have mainly two parts, where the first one will be learning about our guest speaker, what were his childhood experiences. And the second one, which is the most important, will be tackling deeply on our today's topic. So I want to inform the audience that everything which has been put in place today, just because of them, and without the audience, we wouldn't be here. Afflatus Africa is doing everything it's doing because of the community, change the community. If you've heard well, all our programs involve change. So we want to change the community. So everyone who is in the audience, I urge you to take this opportunity and ask questions, share your comments about today's topic down in the chat box. And I'll be regularly checking and see if there is any question that arises. And I'll pass it on to our speaker. And please remain brief, concise, and very brief, yeah, because our speaker needs to get a good way to tackle the points that arise. So maybe, Pastor, let us start our conversation. While I was preparing for this event, I tried to go around different interviews that you held with other people. And one thing that I've noticed is you don't like different big titles that you hold. Maybe you were young and you had visions. Let's say you had vision to be a doctor, to be a PhD holder and a pastor, and now you are one. But it seems like you're no longer in love with these big titles. What has changed?
Oh, actually, even when I was looking for higher education, I've never been a lover of titles because, sometimes people will give you a title just to make you look big. And by the way, when Peter wrote to me and said he wanted my CV, I told him I hate CVs because sometimes when you write your CV, you are trying to impress people. And I often tell people, my aim, my goal in life is not to impress people, be it with my knowledge, be it with my size, be it with my achievements, because impressing people doesn't change them. As a matter of fact, sometimes you make yourself so big that other people feel intimidated. And that's why I hate titles. I just prefer to be just an ordinary pastor, a father, a grandpa, a friend, just a human being.
Yeah, actually, there's very few people who are like you. Maybe when we try to approach some people, they are like, you have big titles, we can't talk to you. But for you, you're very different. So I'll go ahead to my second question.
Yes.
Can you describe for us your childhood experience and what were your aspirations?
My childhood was quite difficult because, first of all, I grew up in the 60s because I was born in 1958. In the 60s, most of the children didn't have large horizons. As a matter of fact, I often tell people because the place where I was born, we had some high hills around our village, and our village is kind of low. And I used to wonder if there was something beyond the horizon. So because my horizon was very small, and sometimes your dreams don't go beyond your horizon. And born in the village, I didn't have any role model. The only people I knew who weren't farmers, it was the priest and the teacher. So my dream was to be either a priest or a teacher because those were the people I saw in prominence. And my dream was to go to seminary and become a priest and go to heaven, or just be a teacher and teach kids. So finally, my horizon grew. But thing is, sometimes the place where we are born will influence our dreams because we don't have somebody big enough to challenge our perception, our outlook. So my vision was kind of limited, but it grew as I went on in life.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you've faced some challenges in your childhood, as you say, but now you're a big person that we all the youth is looking up to, and let's thank God for that, and maybe thank you for taking that courage. Yeah, so I'll get on to the next question. In your childhood memories, which ones do you think you want to relive, or when you remember them, you kind of laugh?
You mean a good one or a bad one?
A good one, which you remember and laugh.
The one I remember and laugh was when I was beaten by my dad because I had colored his small puppy to make it a zebra. So I took some clay and cow dung because I had seen a zebra in a book. So I said, actually, this puppy would look like a small zebra if I colored it white and black. So I tried it. Probably my artwork wasn't so admirable for my dad, but every time when I remember his shock when he saw his dog, he was so shocked that that's the only time I remember him beating me. And another time that I don't want to mention here, but thing is,
all right.
that's one of the most laughable memories of my young age when I was 3 or 4, somewhere there, because my dad was killed when I was 5. So that must have been when I was 4 or 3.
Oh, first of all, we are sorry for the loss of your dad, but painting a puppy into a zebra was really creative. We can't find a lot of people who can do creative things like those.
That was the beginning of a dream to be an artist.
Surely. So our next question is, try to walk us through your career journey and what pushed you to pursue it. Hello, did you get my question?
No, actually, I had lost you because your side had frozen.
Oh, so my question was, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, my question was, try to walk us through your journey, your career journey, and tell us what pushed you to pursue that career journey.
Well, actually, sometimes people will tell you, I had a dream, I wanted this, I wanted that, because, and it's not always true, because beyond age 19, because that's when I left my dream to be a priest, because I did my studies in a junior seminary, because my dream was to become a priest and be a blessing to people. But by age 19, things had changed. For one, deep inside me, there was those tremors and earthquakes, and the beautiful ladies around had grown more beautiful. So I was telling myself, being a priest with those young ladies around and the tremors I hear in my body, I don't think it will work. So I decided not to be a priest and go to the university. So that's another joke about my life. So actually, when I graduated from the university, I became a lecturer at the university. I was a very bright student at the university, but because of the politics we had in those days, just 1 year down, I was redeployed, not fired. I was redeployed in a lower secondary school level, Troncome, as a teacher down there in a village called Rulindo. And I went there. So my dream of being a priest was really lost. I didn't have it. But through reading the Bible, I got converted and I started preaching. Then slowly, the Lord led me to come back into being a pastor. So I don't think I can say that I wanted to be a priest, but as I went on as a preacher, I started seeing the potential and the possibilities of influence as a pastor. And I think that was lingering there, because in my life, I've always dreamed of changing lives, transforming communities. As a matter of fact, that's still my yearning and my dream and my prayer, to be a life changer and a community transformer. So being a pastor is a good position for that.
Yeah, very true. I think it's fair to call you an educator, not only for congregations, but for people at large. We always see you in conversations with people like these ones, trying to educate people. Really appreciate that. So on your journey of being a pastor, or, taking that pastoral career, what were some of the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
As to actually becoming a pastor, the first challenge was a challenge of actually leaving a well-paying job to go to a low-paying job. Because if I look at the salary I had before becoming a pastor, even until today, I'm still paid 1/5 of what I was paid by then. And that's long ago in 2008. So, which means being a pastor is not a well-paid job. But it's a very interesting, very influential job, but it's not a well-paid job. So that was a challenge. The second challenge for me as a pastor was the kind of mindset you find with pastors. Sometimes you come in a group like an eagle flying with crows. You find people don't have these, you feel they are going slow, they are going very low, their life outlook is very confusing and confused. So that's a huge challenge. Actually, when you're staying in that kind of environment and keeping your dreams and keeping your visions can be quite difficult, actually. And you will find that when people are not well paid, not well educated, and you come among them with the kind of level of education and the kind of drive you want to have, sometimes it can be challenging because people are putting lots of brakes on what you endeavor. So that's a huge challenge actually for me. And then the next one are jealousies. Jealousies, actually, I found them everywhere I worked. I've never managed to handle well jealous people because they seem to be just a source of discouragement, a source of frustration, because they are always slandering, they are creating stories, they are backstabbing and things like those. So find those challenges everywhere. But those are the main ones.
Sure. So how did you manage to overcome it?
Well, you keep going. Actually, you know, when you have a vision and you find you are working with people without much vision, you try to influence them. And the best way to keep on influencing them is to keep going. You keep going. You may slow down for people, but you keep going. Don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated by the naysayers, the slanderers, the jailers, and the negative mindsets. You ignore those. You encourage those who can be encouraged, you ignore those who must be ignored.
Sure. Well, that is a challenge that a lot of people are facing nowadays, living in an unconducive environment where you don't see yourself thriving, where you don't see yourself developing, and a lot of people are facing. So your advice is pretty good, not being stuck by those, let me say, low minds, and try to keep going, try to keep moving forward. That is pretty good and very educated. So we can talk a lot of things about your life experience, but let me put an end to the first part of our conversation about your life, which was very good. Learned a lot from what you wanted to be, a priest, a teacher. What were your creativity, childhood memories? It was really good to learn about. We did not know that. So allow me to introduce you to the second part of our conversation, where we're going to talk more about the topic for today. And if I restate, it is understanding of vision and dreams. So starting off, how do you describe the terms vision and dreams in your own words?
Oh, actually, let me start with dreams, because dreams come before visions. Dreams, sometimes people say, well, I have a dream. So we have to make a distinction between the dreams we have at night and the dreams we have awake. Actually, I think that there is a gentleman called T.L. Lawrence. They call him Lawrence of Arabia. He said, all people have dreams. Some people dream at night and they find in the morning it was just vanity and illusions. Other people dream awake. And then he said, those of what will be. And you say, when I'm 50 years, I will be this, I will do this, I will have achieved this. Your dream becomes a vision, and you convert your vision into steps of activities, and that drives your life. So in summary, that's how I can distinguish dreams from vision and achievements.
Yeah, that was good. Well, I think there is no one who is born with a vision or a dream. It's all discovered. So how do you think someone can discover his or her true vision?
Actually, see, that's a good question, because dreams that will bring transformation are birthed in a good observation of your environment, and you see a problem and you dream to become an answer. Because you see, sometimes people have such small dreams. They dream of becoming wealthy just for themselves. That's a selfish dream. It's a dream, yes, but it's not a good one. But when you look around and say our environment, actually, let's speak more precisely about Africa. You are a flat earth Africa. And when you look at Africa, Africa is one of the continents with dreamless people. You become a mayor just to get money from the people. You become a minister just to get houses and a car for yourself. That's not a dream worth being called a dream. And that's the big problem of Africa in terms of leadership, because we tend to be myopic and we tend to be limited in terms of vision for our people, because a good dream is birthed from the suffering of your people. One is, what is your ambition? What do you intend to do for your people? What is your frustration? What is your passion? So a vision is always, a good vision is always birthed from a frustration. And you say, I don't like this. And when I grow up, I'm going to be an agent of change for this. That's why I told you, for me, my big dream, my yearning, my cry is to be a life changer and a community transformer.
Because usually a good vision is a vision of how you're going to impact others, not just how you're going to be wealthy for yourself and travel around the world and be seen by people. No, a good vision goes always beyond ourselves. And you will notice all the people we call great were people who didn't live for themselves. They lived for a greater purpose, a greater reality, and a better world, and a better nation, a better community, a better family. That's what should feed our dreams.
Actually, what you said made a lot of sense, because a lot of people, maybe youth, tend to have dreams limited to their surroundings, limited to themselves, or the people they only love, or their families. While normally successful people have dreams for even further generations. They look forward for other generations. So I think
actually, let me tell you something.
Yes.
If your dream centers around yourself,
yes,
then you are going to end up wealthy. You may even end up in a high position, but you are not going to end up among the great men of this world.
Great. That's very true. So let's go to the next question. Given that a person has discovered his or her true dreams, so what is it required that this person should do to achieve his or her dreams?
That's a good question. Actually, when you have a dream, then you know that you are on a lifelong journey of transformation, of endurance, of difficulties, of challenges. But when you have a dream, you keep going.
Hello? You get me?
The 4 Ds in leadership. Number 1, you have the desire. Yes. Then the desire. Then you take the decision to follow your dream. When you've taken the 2, you need discipline, unflinching discipline. And then because you are going to meet lots of challenges, you will need determination. 4 Ds: desire, decision, discipline, and determination, if you're going to succeed with your dream.
Well, that collection of 4 Ds really covers a lot of things that leaders and influencers should put in place in order to achieve their dreams. Sure. So my next question is, yes, you talked about your main challenges. What were your main challenges during pursuing your vision? But I want to hear, maybe from your experience, after talking to a lot of people that you've been affiliating yourself with, what did you see were the biggest challenges that someone can face during pursuing his or her vision?
Okay. The first challenge you will have will be yourself. Because sometimes you have a dream, but you keep on just hesitating. You say, maybe I'm trying too much. Maybe I'm too much of a dreamer. Because people will tell you so. They will tell you, no, don't try to change the world. It has been there before you came. So you will never achieve it. Let me give you an example. When we were kids, my mom is not educated. She's still alive. She's now in her late 80s. And she sent us to school, but our neighbors would say, are your kids going to school to become like white people? My mom had a different outlook. She used to tell us, any child who will not go to school will not go very far in this coming world. I think she was a visionary.
Very, very
Despite the discouraging word from our neighbors, we went on. I have a PhD. The sister who follows me has a master's degree. My younger brother is a pastor. My other brother. So we are a family of educated family or educated children from a mother who wasn't educated but who had vision. But today, when we go home, the villagers who used to say, they say, oh, you know, Baba na Baba Taisi Baba Wazungu. So meaning because I drive my car, my sister drives her car, my brother has a motorcycle, my other brother. So, you know, sometimes people will mock you and you get discouraged and you abandon. So the major struggle will be inside yourself, then outside yourself, then you will meet the challenges of finance. That's another huge challenge, the challenge of finance, because every dream you will have to use resources to achieve any dream. And very often when you start, I've heard many young people saying, you know, I'd like to start this, but I don't have money. As a matter of fact, every dream starts small. You start small, you don't lose heart, you don't lose your vision, you keep pushing and it will happen. So you push on and you push on and you push on and you push on. You look for ways, you look for means, but you keep your dream alive and it will become alive. But challenges will be there. By the way, challenges, when you look back, challenges are like a training camp. The challenges you meet will become your stepping stones into the future, because the more challenges you face, the more challenges you overcome, the stronger you become in character and experience.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. Because what I've picked from what you say is when I try to change myself, change the way I behave, diminish everything that hinders me from attaining my goals, anything from outside won't make a huge change in my perspective. So what matters is myself, I think. So I think even the audiences hearing this and they've got their own lessons from this, and they're going to share with us what they have learned in the chat box. So I'll go to my next question. Who are the people that inspire you to do better? And what do you find most inspiring about it?
Actually, that's a good question, because very often people say, who are the people who inspired you most? Number one is my mom, because my mom wasn't educated, but she was a pusher. She was a disciplinarian. And so that started from there. And number two, for me, I often tell people, when I was young, I learned from historical figures. I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. Actually, one of my problems is I read too much. And when I was young, I had this kind of curious mind. Every time when I saw somebody who achieved something, I wanted to know what was the secret behind this. Just to give you an example, when I was in the third year in seminary, we learned about World War II. And when we were learning about World War II, one of the teachers told us that Hitler was a street boy before he became a soldier, and then he became a Führer. And I was telling myself, how did a man who was, when he was going to the army, his clothes were so full of lice, they had to burn them. How did he rise from that kind of status to become a Führer of a mighty country like Germany? So one time, one of the priests found me. I was reading the book by Hitler, Mein Kampf, My Fight. And he said, how can you read this book about this ugly man? I said, actually, you know, this man is very interesting. I want to know, how did he rise from being a street boy to being a Führer? Because, so I started learning from those people, and from that, tell you the truth, I learn from everybody and from everything. I can learn from a child, I can learn from an old man, I can learn from a young man, I learn from books. So everybody I meet is my teacher. So I learn from everywhere. I can learn from a cloud going through the sky. I can learn from a bird flying over my head. So everything I see, I learn something from it. So I'm an avid reader, I'm an avid observer of life and animals and people. So I learn from everything. And I'm a perpetual learner.
Surely. That is great. What I liked is how you learn from everything, how you learn from everyone. That is a very crucial quality that a lot of people, if they have them, if they have that quality, they can learn a lot and enjoy most of their lives, what we are living. So that is very good. So my next question, what are your greatest achievements and who do you think influenced those achievements?
I don't know. I let other people tell me.
Okay, maybe aren't there some people who told you that there is something that you've done for them which may be considered as an achievement?
Actually, that's why I don't like taunting around my achievements, because sometimes if you say I've helped people do this, so it's as if you take their successes as your achievement. So, and other achievements I may brag about, in my eyes, are so little. Writing a book for me is not a huge achievement. I've written a few books. Actually, recently there is one that has gone out entitled Reconciliation is My Lifestyle. I've written another one that brought me a few coins in the past and and helped me build myself a house in the city. So, but those are achievements that center about myself. Other achievements, if I were to brag about them, that would be, because usually you work as a team. When you work in a team as their leader, you don't brag about the achievement. Let me give you an example. Here, at this moment, I'm sitting in the church, in the new church we've finished. So if I said, oh, we have built a church, but that's a team work. And I don't like bragging about teamwork. A PhD, that's too small, because that's just a paper. Writing a dissertation that got an award, I did, yes, but for me, that's not something to brag about. So I've bragged too much actually already. So let me stop there.
Yeah, maybe if I can tell you, one of the achievements that we see is how you try the best to educate young people and even adults, how they feel very good about you, how you inspire them. That's a very great achievement that anyone can achieve and be proud of. So while wrapping up and maybe open up to the chat box, I want to come in a perspective of your career nowadays. How do you think vision or dreams and religion, or trusting in God and having faith, how do you think those things relate?
Vision, dreams, and religion. Actually, take religion out and speak about faith. Because faith is different from religion. Because when you speak of religion is just the rituals, but faith is the relationship you have with God. So that's what makes a difference. So for me, I don't go by religion, I go by faith. A relationship with God will shape a big vision, because God is always shaping you. Actually, the way the Bible says it, the Bible says we are God's workmanship, created for good works, which means when I pursue my destiny, I achieve a lot of things by simply following what God created me for. By the way, I think that's what we should tell young people. Strive to achieve what God wanted you to achieve in life. That's the thing.
Yeah, I believe finding out a vision has a lot of things to do with reading the Bible and really finding what God meant by creating people and what we are really out here for. We're here for enlightening other people. We're here for helping other people and receive help from others. I think religion and specifically faith comes and play a very crucial part in discovering somebody's vision. So firstly, I want to point something out. Your camera is looking, you're using a back camera. If you can.
Actually, I'm wondering how it ended up there because it was in the right position. I'm seeing it. So maybe I need to go back and
there is a small button which turns the camera to your face.
In the back?
No, in the screen.
Maybe I touched it.
Okay.
What do I do now?
There's a small button maybe in the corner down.
How does it look? A small button?
Which has a camera and a reverse sign, something like that.
A camera and a reverse sign.
Did you get it?
Let me go back to a button where
Okay.
I'm looking for it, but
we can continue. Maybe you can turn off that camera and we can see only your name. Yeah, that way it will work better.
Yeah,
so
I think.
Yes, sure. I was going to ask you the last question.
Yes.
So, given all the experiences that you encountered, what kind of legacy do you want to leave for the upcoming generation?
Kind of legacy I want to leave for the next generation, I think that's a good question. Because for the epitaph, I would like it to go like this. Here lies a man who tried to change lives and transform communities. Or put it the way I put it in my Bibles, I have a life mission. In every Bible you will see I write the purpose of my life is to glorify God and be a blessing to people. That's my life mission. So the legacy I want to leave behind is that legacy of people who want to be a blessing to other people.
Wow. Well, that is very good. Actually, you're already a blessing to us. And I think what you've done has really motivated us and taught us. So ladies and gentlemen, this marks the end of our conversation in Zoom. So I want to move to the chat box and see what were the interactions in the chat box and see if there are some questions for our speaker.
Can I take this opportunity and readjust my camera?
There's no problem. So while our speaker is trying to adjust his camera, I want to read some of the comments and questions from the chat box. There is a lot of people who are sharing what we're doing. They're happy, they think this is insightful, and one of them is Flatus Africa said, I was welcoming everyone, and then the African Sun said that that is very insightful, is unique. They're meaning our speaker, they're very happy with him. He also, so let me see, everybody was like, wow, this is good. And we are very happy that we're very interactive. So someone asked a question. When Pastor gets back, he will answer. Pastor, can you hear us?
I'm still trying to adjust my phone, but I don't really see how I can readjust it. Maybe I'm going to switch it off and then come back.
Maybe there's no problem. Can wait for you for a few minutes.
Yeah, just keep chatting. I'm coming back.
Sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we wait for our speaker, I want to urge each and everyone who is in the audience to raise a question, if there's a question, or what kind of experience do you want to learn from Pastor Lacey? He's a very experienced person. He has been educating a lot of people, a lot of people that we know. He has been on different panels. So this is an opportunity as young people to ask him and learn from him. So I've seen some people asking some questions, very good. And if there is anyone else who wants to ask a question, this is his time. And I will be reading each and every question that arises in the chat box. And we will be good, and I think he will be ready to answer those questions. So I thank very much the African Sun. He's very interactive, has been sending me some questions. Keza Brenda, thank you very much for interacting and being participative. And I urge everyone, please don't take this opportunity for granted. I have early announced that whatever we do here is because of the audience. So we don't want any of our audience to go back with a question which he or she might have asked. So maybe as we wait for our speaker to come back. Let us take a short break, like for 2 minutes. And after exactly 2 minutes, and when our speaker is ready, we will be back. Please stay tuned. So we are back.
I'm back, but I don't know why it got stuck in this camera position.
Yeah, maybe that's some technical issues, but what we all want is learning from you. Maybe not, we have seen you, so if you just like that is awesome. So I was going to read some questions that were raised that you may answer.
Yes.
Someone asked, I've heard that while pursuing a vision, you always need people to help you. When and how can you find them?
Okay. How can you find people to help you? That's a good question, and it's a tough one because I've found that in life, actually finding the right people to help you may turn out to be the most difficult because it's a matter of patience, it's a matter of vigilance. So you keep just watching around to see if you're going to meet the right people, and that's the only solution. There is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. There is no way you can identify. And if you are a person of faith, keep on praying. You develop the vision, you keep it, you go with it, you talk with people, some will discourage you, and the people will tell you, sometimes they will tell you, see so and so. Then that so and so will tell you, see so and so. And in the end, you are going to hit or to stumble on the person you are looking for. But it's a journey of resilience and endurance and perseverance, and you have to keep going.
Sure. I think he is answered. We have to keep going, not be stuck by people who discourage us. All of a sudden, he had another question. He said, in many things that you do, you are also an advisor of couples. Can you advise young people to find partners early before being stable in their callings or vision?
Actually, that's a good question, but let me tell you something.
Sure.
I think one of the dreams you should build in yourself, you should include that family vision. And the question you should be asking yourself, what kind of family do you want to have? Then the next question, which is the toughest and the most relevant, are you preparing yourself to be a good husband or a good wife? Because very often you find young men saying, how can I find the right partner or the right spouse? And I tell them, you're asking the wrong question. Because if you are a young man, you will attract people who look like you. So if you develop yourself into a good husband,
Well, Pastor, we can't hear you.
you can't hear me?
Yeah, there was some cutting, maybe. If you can repeat that.
I was saying that when you are young, am I back?
Yes, you are back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was a problem of communication, probably our internet going down. So I was saying that when you are young, very often young people ask the wrong questions. They say, oh, Pastor, how can I find the right partner? How can I identify my future spouse? And I say, actually, you're asking the wrong question. The first question you should be asking yourself, what kind of family do I want to build? When I get married, what kind of family, what vision, what dream do I have about family? Then number two, you spend time developing yourself into a good husband or a good wife. So you ask yourself the question, if God were to choose a wife for me, why should he give me a good wife when I'm a bad husband? Or I will turn out to be a bad husband? Because let me tell you something. If you are sexually promiscuous when you are young, don't expect to be more disciplined when you get married. So you are already preparing yourself to be a bad husband. So why should you expect to have a good wife when you are already a bad husband or preparing yourself to be a bad husband? So vision for family should include, number one, build your character to be the right partner. Once you do that, the right people will flock around you because birds of a feather flock. So if you are that kind of young man who goes around drinking and womanizing, for sure, that's the kind of characters you will meet. But when you are disciplined, when you have a vision, when you are
self-controlled, when you are caring, when you are loving, for sure, you will meet the kind of people you are looking for. Because the kind of people you are looking for don't flock with the kind of bad character you are talking about, we are talking about. So that's my secret. That's what I tell people.
Yeah, that's very true. When actually people build their characters well enough, they attract people who have the same characters. That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. Another question from our follower, Keza Brenda. She said, you said your mother was your inspiration, but as a man of God, what is your take on feminism, especially in Africa?
My take on feminism.
Yes.
I'm not a feminist, but I'm a woman encourager. Actually, for me, as a pastor, as a spiritual pastor, not just as a pastor, when God created man and woman, they were both equal. Because the Bible says, in the image of God, he created them, man and woman, male and female, they were created in his image. So feminism, I love women empowerment, but I don't like feminism in its negative sense. Because you find, these days, you find feminists who tend to negate their femininity to show they are equal to men and that they can do this and this. They become too aggressive, they become too obnoxious. So feminism for me, when it's taken in the positive sense of promoting women, empowering women, I like it. When it's taken in the negative sense of women who aggressively affirm themselves, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
So that's my take on feminism.
Yeah, I think as a Brenda can hear your take on feminism. She's also a woman. She can choose what's best for her. So a lot of people are happy about this session. Like someone called Mutijima Ali Nobo said, there's a lot to learn from this money. A lot of people are happy to learn from this. So another question. Another question from Peter says, another question, you've said that a good vision centers on people. Do you believe Africa has those people? If yes, then what's wrong with our continent? Did you hear the
asking
question?
that? Yes. Many people have asking that question. Why is Africa so undeveloped when we have so many people who are highly educated? Why is Africa so poor when you have so many resources? Why is Africa behind other continents when we are not so stupid? Because many of us, we did our studies in Europe, in America, and we weren't lower than the students there. So what's the problem of Africa? Actually, if you read one book written by a man called Lee Kuan Yew, who was the architect of modern Singapore, in his book, From Third to First, The Story of Singapore, he mentioned 3 things I see in Africa that make our continent very poor and backward. He said in the 60s, when Singapore got independence, they were at the same level of economic development as Ghana and some of the other African countries like Kenya. Today, the per capita income in Singapore is $44,000 US, while in Africa, we are still in the range of 800, 1,000, something like that. And he said, what's the problem of Africa? He said, I saw it in the beginning of independences. He said, African leaders were pompous in their lifestyles. So they wanted to appear as wealthy people when leading poor nations. Do you see that?
Sure.
Pompous in lifestyle when you are leading a poor nation. Number 2, he said they were pompous in their speeches. They made lengthy speeches to say nothing. We talk a lot. We have speech is full of adjectives and poor in verbs of action. And that's something you see. There was a time when African presidents were competing in making the longest speech. A president would speak for 5 hours, not shaping a vision, but just impressing people with his rhetoric. Look at the Congo next to us. When we were in secondary school, we had this man called Mobutu Sese Seko. We had memorized his speeches. And when I read that book by Lee Kuan Yew, I remembered some of the speeches of Mobutu Sese Seko we used to recite. And I said, actually, this man is right. These speeches were full of big words, but poor in direction. L'authenticité, c'est notre philosophie politique. That was Mobutu. Nous voulons l'unité, non l'uniformité. You look at it, you say, okay, those were big words, but they are leading nowhere. And a country like Congo, with all the resources, with all the minerals, is still lagging behind many other countries. Why? Problem of leadership. And then thirdly, he said, most of the presidents and prime ministers, they were tribalistic more than patriotic. Do we still see that? Can you see it in our countries? Even here in Rwanda. Many of you young people, you are still talking of being Hutu. I'm proud of being a Tutsi. I'm this and that. I say, no. That's what made Africa what it is today. And you are still harboring those emotions. Look at the quality of the individual. Martin Luther King said, I dream of the day when my children will be valued by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. But today we are still debating if somebody is Tutsi or Hutu or Twa, and then those are small things. Those are petty issues that underdeveloped Africa. We are still fighting those wars. Look at our continent. So what Lee Kuan Yew said about Africa, that made Africa what it was in the beginning of the independences, is still lingering around. We are still pompous. We want to live like wealthy people when we are poor. We want to go and live in America when we don't even have the money to buy the ticket. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
We are still tribalistic.
Pastor, we cannot hear you. Maybe I think there's a problem.
Maybe my internet is tired or yours, I don't know.
Yes,
Can you hear
yes,
me?
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. So I think I had made my point clear anyway.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Really, you meant a lot of things, talked about a lot of things that is hindering us from attaining the development that we want for our continent, that we want for our countries in Africa. So looking back to the chat box, people are thanking you very much for sparing your time for us. They are glad to hear of the responses you are giving them. And he is someone who can't leave you because he's asking another question. Said just one question. We are seeing a lot of riots everywhere in Africa. Do you think revolution is at hand, or there is another better way to change the narrative?
Well, actually, you see, riots, wars, they destroyed even the small you had. You know, somebody said it very well. He said, revolutions cut heads when what is needed is to change minds. So what we are seeing in Africa, we are even destroying the small we had, thinking that we are changing lives, because the heads that destroyed the country are still with us. You know, sometimes I hear people, even here, you know, the Rwandese who live outside the country, who say, if we came here where the government is not good, this and that. I say, you are lying to people, because you too, you were here. So the contribution you didn't make when you are here, you are not going to make it when you come back. So, and sometimes you see, that's the problem we have. Somebody saying, I'm going to fight for what? fight to destroy what we have achieved in these years, and you tell me you are coming to liberate us and developers. You don't develop people by destroying what they built. You don't develop people by creating wars. You don't develop people by destroying the roads you built in riots. That's just the African stupidity. That's how I call it. That's not the best way to change things. It's not by destroying people and properties that we will develop. We need to change our minds. We need to work differently. We need to change the paradigm of life more than just fighting and changing governments. Very often we change governments, but we don't change the mindsets. We are beating the same drums, even when we change the drummers. And that's the problem we have.
You're very true about that. I think you really made a very good point. We still have a lot of people who are not wishing good for our continent, who still have backwards thoughts that we think our youth shouldn't grow up with and should change as well. So
no, let me tell you something before I finish.
Yes.
Learn to love them. If you are going to become politicians, learn to love the people more than the power. Because lots of people I see and hear, mainly here in Africa, they love power, they don't love the people. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is very wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can talk a lot of things with an experienced man like Pastor Taisire, but time is not on our side. We've learned a lot from you, sir. We've heard how you've maneuvered around different challenges in pursuing your vision in your life. We've learned how you did not be distracted by the environment, by the bad environment that you were in, but you rather tried to change them as well. We heard from you how we need to act other than talk, because most of our ancestors have been doing that. And if we also do that as youth, it won't get us anywhere in life. So we also learned how not to listen to naysayers or people who discourage us. So a lot of things that divide us, that you termed petty issues, that we shouldn't ever rely on, they are there, but they shouldn't take much of our time and hinder us from getting ahead. So there's a lot of things that you talked about. You talked about avoiding tribalism. These are things that specifically our country has faced. And thanks to the government, which has put in place different reconciliation methods and mechanisms, which is playing a very big role. But you pointed out that the youth that we are living in, as youth, we shouldn't live in those metrics. We should really avoid looking others in terms of who they are, how they were born, but cooperate and see what we can do together. So you got on saying about how different people destroy even the little Africa has, which is a very bad thing that us youth should be ready to fight against. And one of the last things you say is how we should firstly change our mindset. And this is what Afflatus Africa is mainly doing. We want a community which has a changed mindset, a mindset with vision, a mindset which ignores different issues that separates us, but rather give value to things that unite us. So you ended on a very short statement of learning to love people instead of learning to love power. So we can't get enough words to thank you, Pastor Taisire. We think what we've learned from you today will get us to new heights and to further our development of ourselves, our community, our continent, and even the world. So we think people like you are really needed. We think we need people who are really ready to provide this kind of information to us, because sometimes we know what to do, we have the tools at hand, but we don't know how to apply them. We don't know how the mechanism should go. But when we get people like you who mentor us, who guide us, it really motivates us and it really shows us that there is people on our side. So we thank you very much for having this conversation with us, and allow me to announce this as the end of this conversation, unless you have some burning issues you want to leave around for the audience.
No, thank you very much. And apologies for the technology that I couldn't adjust very well.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
So bye.
I wish you a very good night. Thank you. And I want to also thank the audience which has been with us since start till now. We really think that you've learned a lot, and we hope to see you even in our future events. So we look forward for our next event. It will be next week. It will be the Reading for Change. And we look forward to seeing you there with us in the event. So I wish you all the best and have a great weekend.
Bye.